Me. Greater than 22. Dating this guy I swore was honest. Trusted him more than anyone in my life. Thought his word was solid as stone always. That night we were chilling in his room. I sat on his bed laughing at some video. Earrings slipped from my ear to the floor. Rolled right under his bed out of sight. I bent down, reaching into the shadows carefully. My fingers brushed against something soft instead. Pulled it out, froze, heart slamming in my chest. Black lace underwear crumpled in my hand, shaking. Definitely not mine, not even close honestly. I stared, throat dry, unable to breathe anymore. "What's this?" I asked, voice breaking sharp. He looked up from his laptop, instantly shocked. Face drained pale, but eyes locked on me. "What?" he asked, trying to sound confused. I held the underwear higher with trembling fingers. Silence stretched, so loud it felt like thunder. His face stiff, no jokes, no laughter left. "You seriously think that's mine?" He muttered slowly. The words didn't calm me, made it worse. Rage and betrayal bubbled up too fast inside. "I can't trust you anymore." I screamed loud. Neighbors probably heard every word I threw. He held up both hands, desperate, shaking badly. "This isn't what you think, I swear," he said. But who believes excuses in a moment like that? Tears blurred my vision. Anger swallowed my chest whole. The guy I loved suddenly looked like a stranger. I clutched the underwear like it burned my skin. Every memory of us twisted sharp in my head. He repeated, "Please, listen to me, just listen." But I couldn't hear anything past my heartbeat. My voice cracked. "You swore you'd never humiliate me." He stepped forward, then froze halfway, stuck in fear. Trust was already collapsing between us quickly. I stood by the window gripping that black lace. Fingers clenched so hard my knuckles turned white. City lights outside blurred through my tears slowly. "You swore you'd never humiliate me like this," I whispered. He took a step closer, then stopped cold. "Listen, it's not what you think," he said. His voice shaky, trying hard to sound steady. "It belongs to my sister, not someone else." I whipped my head around, eyes blazing sharp. "You're dragging her into this now?" I snapped. His jaw tightened, frustration mixing with desperation clearly. "She stayed here last week, remember?" he said. "She wore my hoodie, left stuff everywhere as usual." My grip on the lace tightened even more. Part of me wanted to believe, part didn't. "Check the size," he added quickly, voice low. "It's not even your size, you know that." I glanced down, breath uneven, hands trembling still. Truth or excuse, I couldn't tell anymore. My heart screamed louder than his explanations could. I crouched again, flashlight on my phone shaking. Scanned under his bed with pounding heartbeat. My fingers brushed against fabric once again. Pulled out a single women's sock, pale pink. My chest clenched tighter than ever before. I dug further, fingers catching on something metal. A shiny hairpin rolled out onto the floor. My breath hitched hard, eyes wide in shock. "Your sister forgets a lot, huh?" I spat. His lips parted, but no words came out. Silence filled the room heavier than bricks. My mind spun wild, anger and doubt colliding. Was he lying straight to my face right now? Or was this nightmare actually some twisted coincidence? I held the sock and pin up to him. "How many more secrets you hiding under here?" I asked. He swallowed hard, running a hand through his hair. Frustration carved deep lines across his face fast. The trust between us hung by a thread, ready to snap with one wrong breath now. I backed against the wall, still clutching the lace. Anger buzzing in my chest like electricity burning. "You think I'm blind? You think I'm stupid?" I yelled. He shook his head, voice rough and broken. "No, you're not blind. You're hurt, but I'm not cheating." The way he said it almost sounded real. Almost enough to make me hesitate for a second. But then my eyes fell back to the sock, to the hairpin glinting on the wooden floor. Those little pieces screamed louder than his words. I turned away so he wouldn't see me cry. "I gave you everything, all my trust," I said. My voice cracked like glass splitting in two. He reached out, but froze halfway again. His hand hovered in the air, trembling hard. Scared to touch me, scared to lose me completely. I shook my head, pressing back against the wall. Felt cornered by truth, lies, or both at once. Couldn't tell which one was more painful, honestly. The silence in the room roared like thunder. Finally, he walked toward the closet quietly, pulled out a plain cardboard box from inside, set it down between us with shaking hands. "Open it," he said, eyes locked on mine. Inside were notebooks, photos, postcards with girly handwriting. Things that clearly didn't belong to me at all. My sister leaves her stuff here all the time, he explained. I don't even notice anymore till you find it. I stared at the pile of belongings in silence. Each piece looked real, too detailed to fake. Still my stomach twisted, unsure if I should believe. See? I wasn't lying to you, he said softly. His eyes begged me to finally understand the truth. I set the lace back inside the box slowly, hands trembling so bad I almost dropped it. My chest still burned with anger and confusion. But doubt slipped in, blurring the lines completely. Was I wrong, or just being played smarter? Either way, trust wasn't coming back easy at all. I sat on the edge of his bed quietly. Box of his sister's stuff still open beside me. My hands twisted the lace between nervous fingers. He sat across from me, face pale and tense. Neither of us spoke for what felt like hours. The air thick, heavy with questions unspoken. I finally whispered, "You know I can't unsee this." His eyes softened, but his voice stayed firm. "I know, but I need you to trust me." Trust, the very thing already shattered in my chest. I wanted to scream again, but nothing came out. Instead, I stared down at the floor hard, where that shiny hairpin still glinted faintly. A reminder that proof and excuses blurred together. He rubbed his forehead like the weight crushed him. "What else do I have to show you?" he muttered. I stayed silent, afraid of either answer, because nothing could erase the image in my head. Black lace hidden under his bed like a secret. The night dragged on with us, circling the same fight. Me demanding truth, him begging me to believe. Neither side winning, just bleeding trust slowly. Finally I stood, shoving the lace back in the box. Hands shaking, throat raw from holding back tears. "I don't know if I can stay," I admitted. His face broke, eyes wide with desperation. "Don't say that, please. I didn't betray you." I wanted to believe so bad it hurt. But my heart couldn't untangle the knots anymore. Silence filled the room heavier than screams. He reached for my hand, but froze midair. Fear flashing in his eyes like he'd lose everything. I pulled back, not ready to decide yet. Walked to the doorway with chest tight and burning. 1,000 memories of us crashing in my head. But all I could see was black lace. All I could feel was doubt screaming louder. And I didn't know which truth to hold on to. I barely slept that night, tossing and turning hard. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the lace. His face swearing innocence replayed over and over. But the hairpin and sock screamed louder inside me. By morning I felt drained, hollow, completely exhausted. He made coffee like usual, quiet and careful. Slid a mug toward me without saying a word. I sipped but couldn't taste anything at all. His eyes searched mine, desperate for a sign. I kept mine down, afraid they'd give too much away. Finally he whispered, "You really think I'd do that?" His voice cracked, sounding more hurt than defensive. I bit my lip, couldn't find the right answer. "I don't know what to think anymore," I admitted. That sentence made his shoulders slump instantly, like he'd been waiting to hear my doubt out loud. Silence stretched again, coffee cooling between us slowly. We sat there, strangers at the same table now. Trust bleeding out in every quiet second shared. Later that week, I came back after work late. Walked into his room with heavy nerves dragging. He wasn't home yet, lights dim and quiet. I glanced around, heart pounding against my ribs hard. Part of me hoped to find nothing at all. Part of me feared exactly the opposite outcome. I crouched down near the bed, trembling inside. Pulled the box closer, lifted the lid carefully. Inside still sat the lace and girly belongings. Right on top lay another hairpin I hadn't seen. My chest tightened, breath catching in my throat fast. Was it always there, or newly left behind? I froze staring at it, mind racing wildly. His footsteps sounded in the hall suddenly. I slammed the lid shut, shoved the box back. Sat on the bed pretending I hadn't moved. He walked in smiling, faint but tired. That smile faded, seeing my pale face instantly. I forced a laugh, but my hands still shook. Because the questions never stopped piling up inside. He noticed my hands shaking, eyebrows pulling together tight. "What happened?" he asked, voice careful and low. I shook my head quickly, avoiding his eyes. "Nothing, just tired," I muttered, lying through my teeth. But the box under his bed burned in my mind, the hairpin flashing like a neon sign of doubt. He sat beside me, close but not touching. I felt the mattress dip and my chest clench. You're still thinking about it, aren't you? He asked. I stayed quiet, silence saying more than words ever could. His hand lifted halfway, then dropped back down. Fear kept him from closing the distance again. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted softly. Hearing him sound defeated hurt more than anger did. Because part of me still loved him badly. And that part hated seeing him break like this. But the other part screamed about the lace. About the secrets, about not knowing what was real. I stared at the floor until tears blurred my vision, wondering if trust ever comes back once shattered. The days that followed felt heavy and strange. We went through motions like roommates, not lovers. Shared meals, shared space, but barely shared words. I caught him watching me sometimes, eyes filled with worry. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or sadness. One night, he pulled the box from under the bed, placed it in the middle of the room slowly. Look through everything. I've got nothing to hide, he said. His voice steady but hands shaking just slightly. I opened it again, pulled out notebooks and postcards. Old pictures of his sister, messy doodles on paper. Things that looked innocent but still fueled my doubts. Because innocence and lies can look the same sometimes. I glanced at him, eyes begging for reassurance. He said nothing, just stood there watching quietly, like he knew his words wouldn't change my mind. I closed the box, chest aching worse than before. Because sometimes evidence doesn't matter anymore. Sometimes it's the wound of doubt itself that kills. I started avoiding his place more and more. Claimed I was busy, stayed late at work. Truth was I couldn't stand the sight of that box. Its shadow sat heavy in my head constantly. Friends asked if we were okay together still. I smiled, lied, changed the subject every single time. Inside, I was drowning in questions without answers. Was he guilty or just unlucky with appearances? Either way, trust had slipped right through my hands. And once it's gone, nothing feels the same. One night, he showed up outside my apartment. Rain soaking his hoodie, eyes red from stress. I can't lose you over something I didn't do, he begged. I stood frozen, torn between love and suspicion. His voice cracked, desperate in the cold night air. Part of me wanted to run into his arms. The other part screamed to slam the door shut. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. Two people separated by silence heavier than the rain. A week later, we tried to act normal again. Dinner at his place, music low in the background. But every creak of the bed made me tense. Every shadow under it felt like a warning. I laughed at his jokes, but my smile faltered. He noticed, his eyes dimming with frustration. What more can I do? He asked finally. I didn't answer, just stared at my plate. Because I didn't know any more myself honestly. Then suddenly, something small clinked on the floor. A hairpin rolling out from the closet door. My stomach dropped so hard I felt sick. He froze too, eyes wide with disbelief. That's not yours either? I whispered sharply. He grabbed it, held it in his palm. It's hers. I swear, it's still hers, he insisted. But my chest tightened until breathing felt impossible. Truth, lies, or coincidence, all blurred together. And I wondered if we'd ever escape this cycle. That night, I sat on his bed shaking. He stood by the door, hands deep in pockets. The air between us felt sharp, unbearable, cutting. You think I'm lying no matter what I do? He said. His voice flat, exhausted, almost giving up completely. I swallowed hard, staring at the floor in silence. Because he wasn't wrong, I didn't believe anymore. But I couldn't stop myself from doubting either. Do you even love me still? He asked quietly. My chest clenched, tears threatening to spill fast. I whispered, I don't know. I want to. His shoulders dropped like the last thread snapped. Neither of us moved, trapped in heavy silence. Love sat in the room, but felt broken. And no box of proof could fix it now. My heart wanted to reach for him anyway. But my hand stayed frozen on my lap tightly. Afraid one touch would mean forgiving too soon. Afraid another would mean goodbye forever instead. So I sat still, drowning in my own indecision. The following morning felt painfully ordinary again. He made coffee, toast, acted calm and normal. I stirred sugar into the mug with shaking hands. His eyes followed me, searching for some sign. I gave him nothing, just blank walls of silence. Because words would have cracked me wide open again. When I left, he didn't hug me goodbye. Just watched me slip out the door quietly. Later that night, I found a note in my bag. Folded neatly, written in his rushed handwriting. I didn't cheat. Believe me or don't. I love you. My throat tightened reading those lines alone. So simple, so raw, yet filled with desperation. I clutched the note, unsure if it was truth. Unsure if love could even survive this storm anymore. One part of me ached to run back. Another part screamed to finally walk away. And in that split second, I realized. Sometimes doubt is heavier than betrayal itself. Days passed, and the tension never disappeared fully. We laughed sometimes, but it always felt forced. Behind every smile sat the shadow of that box. And the lace still burned in my memory. He tried harder, cooking dinners, sending sweet texts. But effort can't glue broken trust back together. Every time he touched me, I hesitated slightly, wondering if his skin still carried someone else's scent, wondering if the truth was buried too deep to find. Late one night, I caught him watching me sleep, eyes full of fear, not guilt, just fear of losing. And that scared me even more than silence did, because it meant he loved me but might still lose me. I rolled over, pretending not to notice his gaze, my heart torn between wanting peace and fearing lies. The hairpins, the sock, the lace, all haunted me. Maybe they were innocent, maybe they weren't at all. But once trust cracks, every shadow looks like proof. And I didn't know how to unsee any of it. Final straw came when another pin fell from the door. Tiny, harmless, but sharp as a knife in my chest. He reached for it fast, face pale, jaw tight. I froze, couldn't breathe, couldn't fight anymore. He whispered, "Please, don't let this be the end." His hand hovered near mine, trembling, waiting. But I pulled back, too scared to decide wrong. Tears blurred my eyes, heart screaming on both sides. Love begged me to stay, doubt begged me to leave. And I was stuck between them, breaking slowly. We sat there, no words, just heavy silence. A silence louder than any confession could ever be. Maybe he was innocent, maybe I'd never know. Maybe truth doesn't even matter once trust is gone. All I knew was nothing would ever feel the same. I walked toward the door, his eyes following closely. Hand pressed against the knob, shaking, waiting. I turned back once, searching his face for answers, but found only fear and a plea for forgiveness. So I'll ask you, would you forgive or walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I need to know.